Keeping venomous reptiles is an unforgiving hobby, requiring proper training and lots of experience. One simple mistake can be the difference between life and death. Remember, the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. There are no venomous snakes with training wheels. Just because you see viperkeeper handle snakes a certain way does not mean you should try it too.
Hey, Mr. Lukagaster, are you interested? I see your tongue flicking. At least I think that's you and not the girl. Huh? Who's who in the under here? It's tough to tell. I think that's Mr. Lukagaster at the other end. I think that's the girl. She's not used to me poking and prodding. Alright, so what we're gonna do is what they don't like, and that's lift the lid on their hiding place, and hopefully this does not come
crashing down right on top of them.
Yeah. Oh, there's Mr. Lukagaster. That's the boy. Here, watch your head, dude. Okay, so let's go. I'll just move this over here for the moment. Okay, so this guy, this Ekis, has been one of the ones that, you know, definitely I have a soft spot for, because he got bit by one of the females. I think it's the female that's in solitary over in one of the bins, and he had some trouble with one pupil was more dilated than the other, and it's still slightly a little bit not quite there. And I put him in the bin by himself to let him heal, but he wasn't necessarily, you know, really excited about feeding. So breeding season came, and I figured, well, what the hell, let's put him over here with the girl. And he's come back on feed in a significant way. Now we're gonna cut the camera and not film it from this point, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer the female a mouse that I will quickly dispatch via cervical dislocation and get her mouth full. But you know me, I don't like to feed on live because it makes the PETA crowd nuts. And, you know, I post on YouTube, and they're in bed with those guys, as well as being in bed with the folks on Facebook. So it's just better that I don't film feeding live. Okay, so she bit that, so she will eat it, and hopefully she'll leave the male alone. Now, when I feed these two, I am always present, because I don't want anything to go off the rails. It's so funny that so many of these snakes, again, 63 million years in evolutionary history, and sometimes they can't figure out which end of the prey item to start to swallow first. And she's no exception, but she's at least pointed in the right direction this time. The last time it took her literally 15 minutes of going back and forth from end to end to finally decide which end was okay to start with. So we're gonna let him do his thing. We're gonna shut the door, and we're gonna just let them do what they do, and then we're gonna move on to some other characters that are down below. So Mr. Kazakanovi has been a very, very picky eater, which, you know, he's an adult male now, so these things sort of happen when snakes, especially males, become adults. You know, he struck out of the cage when I opened the door till about here, and then when I offered him something to eat, he didn't have any reaction at all. So, you know, Viperkeeper's Lair is the home of the mentally challenged snakes.
Ah, Mr. Milos, not Mr. Kazakanovi.
Yes, Mr. Milos, not Mr. K. Are you interested in that or not? See, he looks very interested, but usually he won't take it. I think it's something about this group of mice. These are sort of been hanging around. You know, as mice sort of age in the freezer, they may not smell as good. Just like humans, if you have something that's been in your freezer for a long time, you know, it doesn't necessarily taste as good as it did, you know, when it first arrived in your freezer. So I'm not sure if he's going to take this, but, you know, sometimes, you know, if I dance it around, he might have some more interest in it. I might have to offer him something fresher later on. So, Mr. Milos is a strikeout. Now, since both these animals are captive born in here, and there's no issue feeding one food item from another if somebody doesn't eat it. If I wouldn't take something I offered to a snake that I wasn't acting correctly or was a wild caught and try to feed it to another snake, but since these snakes are all captive born, have been here, are behaving quite normally, especially Mr. Kazakanovi. He's a bit of a wild one. Over here. Over here, get it. There you go, dude. You know, look at him. He is just a very healthy weight. But by the way he acts, it's like I haven't fed him in 6 months. You know, and you don't want your snakes to become obese because then they get fatty liver disease, they get heart disease. You know, they have all these problems that, you know, you would have as a human. So, you know, once a week I give him something that size, and by tomorrow he'll be going nuts looking for something else to eat. Okay, so the female Equus. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I disturbed those guys. So let me shut this for safety reasons. So the female Equus has figured it out, and the male is pretty much done with his. I will offer him another. The female just gets one because she gets live, and you know, it costs me about $40 a week for live prey items for these guys. So I really, you know, it's 29 cents for one of those fuzzies. That's frozen thawed. These live ones are like $2.20, $2.30. So I try not to live feed for many reasons. Cost is one, but also ethically I just don't like to live feed because it's dangerous for me. I don't like to see an animal suffer, even though this happens normally in the wild. And if they don't eat the mouse, I have to get it out of the cage, which leads to a situation where I have a very frightened mouse which will bite me, and I have a snake which, if it bites me, I will end up at the hospital. So it's all very, very tricky. So this is why I don't like the live feed. I will offer the female something frozen thawed and see if she'll take it. And of course I will offer the male something else. So we're going to let them continue to swallow for a minute. And we're going to go down here and visit Mr. Speckled Rattlesnake. It's okay, guys. The echis are really twitchy, so you really have to sort of be careful. So here's our friend Mr. Pyrus, and you can see he knows that he's not frightened anymore about being in his new enclosure. He knows today is feeding day. Hi, bud. How you doing? I see you've adapted to your cage pretty well. Now, as I said, you know, he also is challenged when it comes to feeding. A lot of times, well, that's very sweet. A lot of times he'll strike a fuzzy like this, and I'll go back in a little while to check, and he's like dropped it on the ground, and then I have to grab it, pick it up again, and I usually will take it and hand it to him, and you know, he's usually okay at that point. He'll start chewing it, and it goes down the hatch just sort of like this one's doing. So he looks like he's adapted pretty well to his cage. He's knocked over his cactus, his fake cactus. I might put that back later, but it looks like he's transitioned to this cage fairly well. People said, Al, I didn't think that you kept snakes that use crowfab. And fortunately now in the US, anti-vipin is FDA approved for rattlesnake bite. So I would use that in case I got nipped by this sucker. It's a little bit cheaper than crowfab. However, I know people who do research on this snake and the venom, and one of their people in the lab got nipped by one, and crowfab really had minimal effect on it. They had to use a lot. So my first choice would be anti-vipin rather than crowfab. Okay, so I'm going to shut the door here and let him do his thing. Now, everybody remembers the story behind him. He's going to be, I think, 4 years old, or maybe 5 years old this in the month of June. I'll have to check to be sure. He's the runt of the litter of like 8 baby rattlesnakes, and he's always been a problem feeder. I had to force feed him for the longest time. He's had regurg problems if I give him something that's a little too big. So, you know, you know, I've put a lot of time and effort and risk into keeping him alive. People have made me lots of offers to buy him because they have a female but they don't have a male. But I put so much time and effort into him, and, you know, I sold his parents off. And within 6 months, the guy killed the female. I don't know how he did it, but that was the end of that. And so I'm really not too enthusiastic to sell snakes to people unless I really, really know that you're a top-notch keeper, because of this sort of situation. And you know, he's special. I put a lot into him, so he's going to be a permanent lair occupant. Alright, so here's the male leucogaster again, and he's looking interested. And since he was off feed for such a long time, I'm not so, you know, I'll offer him more than one to put some weight on him, because he'll lose that weight once once he goes back into breeding mode, which I don't know if these guys breed more than
Here
once
comes
a
the
year.
female.
I know, I see the female. And this is, okay, he's got his mouth around it. He wasn't quite ready.
Okay, she's. Oh well, she is coming back over. It looked like she was going to go the other way.
Okay, so would you like this? Huh? See how skittish she is compared to him? It's because I've spent lots of time working with him, and she very seldom sees me because she's under the log. So I am going to put the log back into its normal position and let her feel a lot more comfortable. Easy, easy, easy. Snakes get butt hurt very easy. So we want everybody to be happy and comfortable, so no one gets upset. There you go. I see you're still eating and she's moving around. Looks like she's going under the log past him, so she's a happy camper. So we're just going to leave these guys alone. Now this buffoon is looking around like, hey, you forgot me, where's my food? So I will offer him something again.
But no, I know what it is.
What?
He's recently, last couple of weeks, he doesn't eat it, he uses it as a pillow. He
Oh.
wants his pillow back.
And people wonder, you know, why I say that taking care of these guys take a long time. I mean, come on, dude. I got other snakes to feed. You know, get it together. You know, he sometimes, you know, likes to. I bet if I put a live mouse in there, he would like that a lot. And like, oh, we got a tail twitch from him. He's a little bit pissy right now. Huh? Am I bothering you?
Oh yeah, there it goes again.
Look, dude. If you're hungry enough, you'll eat this. I mean, it's not bad. Everybody else doesn't seem to have a problem with it. I mean, Mr. K, look at him. He's winding up. Where's my second one?
I'll take it, I'll take it.
Mr. Speck's got his down the hatch. And, you know, that'll last Mr. Speck for the week. Again, we don't like overfeeding his snakes. I mean, Mr. Milos has got good weight and stuff. And, you know, I'll leave this in here, but I guarantee you tomorrow morning it will be in here because...
And he'll be resting his head on.
Yeah, exactly. So, not much more I can do. Here, I'll let it assault you. Maybe then you'll. Do I have to tease feed you? Huh? Yeah. All right. Well, I've had enough of you for one day. So I'm gonna put that right there. You can see Mr. K down below is like, oh, I'm hungry, you never feed me. I want more. More, please.
I'm starving.
He's such a character.
He really is. Come on. Come on, up here. Up here.
Yeah, he'll strike and then flop back and on his back and like that. And it's like,
Come on.
all right. Don't tease him. Mr. Belos' is butt hurt now going into his log.
See you later.